Welcome to Series 7 of the Dig podcast, and I am your host, Caroline O'Neill. In this series, I am talking to business owners, entrepreneurs, and experts who are sharing their journey and preparing us for the future. What does the working world look like in the future? It changes every week, every day, every hour. So tune in each week as I ask my guests how they are future-proofing their business.
What do Ed Sheeran, Snoop Dogg, Russell Crowe, Ronan Keating all have in common? Well, they have in common my guest on the Dig podcast today. How flippin' exciting to have Laura Bonner from Muff Liquor Company right here on the podcast. She is tuning in from Australia, my first Australian guest. I know she's Irish, but she's in Australia, so I'm going to claim that my first one on the Dig podcast. So I'm absolutely delighted. Whoop, whoop, we got it all sorted out for today. But just to give you a little introduction for anybody who doesn't know Laura, Laura is the co-founder and CEO of Muff Liquor Company. And whenever I was reading up all about Laura before we came on the podcast, I love the fact that she's inspired by her family, like we all are, like most of us are, have those leading role models that we look up to and aspire to be. And hers is her granda. I'm sure lots of other people in her family too, but her granda is certainly a man that appears a lot on the branding and a lot in the story of Muff Liquor Company. So Philip McClanahan sounded like quite a man, loved a bit of potching. Made from the potato, it was potato based potching, which I've been reading up all about because I was going to be speaking to Laura. How amazing! Like he's now on the back of all the bottles, so we're not. Philip's memory is definitely living on there, and his secret to a long life was plenty of hard work. And that's definitely what Laura is doing, and lots of us people who are working in every day now, and people who listen to Dig podcast, we're working harder than we've ever worked, but it's great to hear stories like Laura's. There's hope out there for us all. But Laura's had investment, like I said, from Ed Sheeran, Russell Crowe, English comedian Jimmy Carr, my favorite Ronan Keating, and more celebrities as well. And this has allowed her to expand and follow her dreams with all the different parts of her business. And we're going to hear all about that now. They've won awards all over the world. She was telling me before we came on air, recent ones in the last 3 weeks, which we're going to talk about. Her story is incredible, and I know you're all going to love her. And I've just met her just before we came on air, and I am invested already in her. I think she's great. So, welcome to the Dig podcast from Australia, Laura.
Hello, Caroline. Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to finally meet you in person. Well, not meet you in person, but you know what I mean. It's great to put a face to the name.
Yes, well, thank you for being on the Dig podcast. And look,
Pleasure.
I love Inishowen, go to Inishowen all the time. My holidays go to Greencastle actually.
Oh, you're lucky.
I know, and so I've seen Muff Liquor Company just because I'd be driving through Muff and I've heard all about you. Then I started follow online. Then I seen all the buzz about the celebrities. I was like, what is this girl doing? But talk to us about from the start, Laura. Like, how has this all happened?
Oh gosh, to be honest, Caroline, it has been nearly 20 years at this point. I was speaking to my brother a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, 20 years, I'm nearly 20 years, and with this idea. But yeah, like when I was 19, my granddad, Phil McClanahan, who you just mentioned, he was a potato farmer, and I just became obsessed with the idea that poaching couldn't be bottled and sold in Ireland. I think actually I was 16 when this all kind of came to my head, but again, didn't understand the legality of it, didn't really understand why it was illegal. Um, yeah, and then I was at 19. I first sent my first email to my family, sent it to my dad, my two brothers, and my sister, and I said, subject Muff Liquor Company. And I said, guys, I'm going to drop out of law school. I'm going to move home. I'm going to learn how to make vodka from Granddad's potatoes, and I'm going to make this legit. I'm going to make this a company. Which went down like a lead balloon. Um, Unfortunately, like I talk about it many a time, our mom was dying at the time. My brother just was like, "Do you not think we've got enough going on that you think you're going to drop out and come home with this ridiculous idea um, to stick to what you're doing?" Which I did, pure out of emotional guilt, to be honest. But I got my degree, went into property, went to the UK, like went through my career, and at 32, I was like, "Nah, I'm going home. I'm going to set up the company," and that's exactly what I did.
And such challenges like your mum being ill, and I think a lot of parents too, they always have that, they want the security for their children of having an education and a good job. And sometimes when we have as entrepreneurial minds these crazy ideas that it seems to them, it can put you off. and
Yeah,
and and there is a lot of people that never follow their dreams because of that, because they don't want to
yeah.
rock the boat. I know there'll be lots of people listening, but like, you obviously you went down a path that you felt was right for you then, where you continued on that journey, but that burning desire was never going to go away,
Yeah,
was it?
never left. Like even when I was doing my interviews in London, do you know, like in interviews, they like people say, "Tell us something interesting about yourself." I'm like, "Listen, I'm literally just here to make a bit of money. I'm going to go home. I'm going to own this alcohol company. It's called the Muff Liquor Company. I'm going to make vodka out of potatoes." And like people, like I remember, like I was interviewed. I was worked for three companies in the UK, and I know that I saw, like I can remember their reactions as if it was yesterday. But every one of my old bosses and my teams from those three companies, every one of them was at my launch party when I launched on the 3rd of February 2018. They were like, she talked about it, she's now done it, so we're going to support her and produce her. So yeah, I just had that the burning desire just never ever left me. And I was just so determined to make it work. And my whole thing was, even if it failed, like I just had to see it through because I talked about it too long, just for too long, that I needed to make it work.
But there's definitely a message there for people listening, that you don't want to regret not trying, even if it doesn't work.
Sure.
You got to
You know
try.
what? Like, if you fail, you fail. At least you've tried. Like, I think most people really live their life with regret. Like, should I leave this relationship? Should I leave this job? Like, should I buy this house? You know, people are just constantly, and then they don't do it pure to fear. Where, like I've said many a time, like my faith was always stronger than my fear. And every day I wake up, and even when things could be the worst time, I'm just like, come on, you know for a fact it's going to be okay. So like that's you just gotta just keep going. Honestly, once you just go over that step, sure there's no looking back then.
No
It's all
turning back. I know. So
exactly.
when you came back, how did you? I think a lot of people who are starting business, it's that first, and as you say, once you start, you can't turn back. But getting started, was that hard? How did you get that system in place?
Yes, Caroline, it was extremely hard. I cried. I think I cried for 5 years straight. And I think when anytime I was interviewed, anytime people, I'm like, I just cried all the time. I was crying when things were good, and I was crying when things were really bad. But I honestly can't understand how I have any more tears in me, to be honest with you. But like it was just one of those things. Like even when I had this idea, like I used to write on like my piece of paper, going like, "What is the Muff Liquor Company? What am I trying to do? Like what's my mission statement? What's my vision? Like what do I want to do?" Like I just didn't have anything. Like it just nothing was coming to me other than like the final product, which obviously in order to get to the final product, you have to do all the steps beforehand. Um, yeah, but like I just I ask questions, I ask for help. I think that's honestly the biggest thing. I think a lot of people have a lot of ego and they don't want to like lose face, but like you lose more face because you lose everything by not doing it. And like I have no problem asking anybody a stupid question, because listen, if I don't know the answer, I'll ask the question, and then at least then if I know the answer, I'll never ask it again. And I think a lot of people just need to just drop the ego. It took me years, and I've worked an awful lot in my like inner self in the last couple of years just to get to that point where now like I completely have had an ego death, and I'm just surrendering it all to the higher good now at this point.
An ego death. I love that. I haven't heard of
Yeah,
that.
it's really important.
It's very
Yeah.
true, actually. And I think whenever you get in the circles of business, sometimes it can get overwhelming that you feel like you're not a business person or a businesswoman or a businessman, because you don't know all the business things. And for anybody who's listening to this in audio, I'm keep using like inverted comma marks, because
Yeah.
what the flip is a business woman or a businessman? It's just people who've learned how to do business, and
They're
you need to,
learning.
yeah.
Absolutely. Like Richard Branson has said many times, the whole like he did nothing on his own. His first person that helped him was his mom. Like no one can do anything on their own. You've got to ask for help, and you have to you have to put yourself out there. If it's something that means something to you, you'll do anything in your power to make it happen. And if you look stupid to one person, whatever, like who cares? Like you won't even remember that person when you're where you are.
Exactly. And so whenever you say you knew what the end product was going to be, but you didn't know the journey to there or what it looked like to get there. But when I go and look at your branding and go onto your website and that beautiful poem about your granda, and your granda's on the back of the bottle and all his vision and all, it was always there, the roots and the value, but you just needed to kind of bring it to life as such with the brand story. Am I right in saying that? Or
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't even that. Like when I had the idea of the company, like I didn't understand, like I didn't know how to register the company. I didn't know about tax. I didn't know about like the coding and the patent. There was like loads of things, and I was like, oh God, I have to do this. How do you do this? And there's the one thing like, and I can only talk about my industry. I am extremely blessed with my competitors, and I'm saying that in inverted commas because I would look at them all as like like acquaintances, and a few of them have like become really good friends. Like I know what they do every single day in order for make their business work, and I applaud them every day. And when I see them, when I see something on LinkedIn or social media, when I see they do something well, like I applaud them, I ring them, like congratulations, that's absolutely amazing, because I know what it is. And like most of the time, I'm like, how did you do this, by the way? Or like, what was that form that you fill out? And like, what actually did you do? And like, I have no problem helping anyone. I think I was one of the first companies that actually got the paperwork through for Brexit, which took no, not years, but it took nearly a year to get it done. And I had six of my competitors write to me saying, "Hey, like, who did you use? Or like, what? How did you go through this here? Like, what was the importing officer, and what was the paperwork?" And I sent them all everything, because I was like, "Listen, I'm never going to stop and stand in anyone's way of success. At the end of the day, I have a gin and vodka and a whiskey, and it's my gin and vodka and whiskey. And like, I don't like multiple red sauces. I like one. So like my thing is, if people like my gin and vodka, great. But if you prefer another Irish spirit, then I will support that company as far as I can.
I think that's like so like a thing that a lot of people are afraid of, like especially embracing competitors. Um, but as you said, like think about the amount of people there are out there, the amount of people that have all different. But if you help each other, you could grow quicker, which is kind of what you're
Absolutely.
saying.
Carly, I remember getting one of my first meetings for a company in Hong Kong, which is probably, it was pre COVID. And I brought my gin, and I brought two competitors' gin with me. And in my head was, I'm obviously going to pitch my own. And if they don't like my, I'm going to give them to my two people who had started out the same year, because I've had this opportunity to finally get in front of this person because I know how hard it is. And my thing was, if you don't like my gin, try and support as much Irish products as possible. Like when I'm in Sydney, I walk into a bar, my first question is, what Irish gin or vodka do you have? And I'll get them and talk to, and whatever it is, even if I don't like it, even though I'm supporting you, I will buy a drink without a fail, because I think it is so important to look after your own. Like Ireland is saturated with international gin and vodkas, where as a small country that we are, we should be going into every bar and every shop and buying an Irish product before we buy something else. And like that's kind of where I feel with that.
I feel like that should be like everybody's cheering, but you're right. We do have to support everyone. But that story you just told about getting in front of somebody in Hong Kong and saying if they don't like yours, you're going to pitch somebody else's. I've never heard anybody say that, Laura. I've never heard anybody say that.
Well, like it happens all the time, and like it happened only 3 weeks ago. I was in Hong Kong again, and I gave another whiskey of one of my, well, she's a really good friend of mine now, but she's a competitor, her whiskey. And I said, listen, like, this is a really good whiskey. Again, it's a different taste to mine. Like my gin and vodka are potato base. It's completely different manufacturing compared to the other gins. So my thing is like, if you don't want mine, try another Irish. Like I just like, look, no matter what, I always believe, do something good and something good will come back. And I only like, I do that on a daily basis, and I go to bed sleeping very well at night knowing that I do my part. I think it's really important.
I get it. To be a good person underneath all of the success and the, you know, all of, I think that's what boils down to. If you're not, you're really showing that there, and you're right. I'm sure you do sleep great at night, and I'm thinking make a lot of other people, make a lot of other people think though we can be very. It's I think an Irish thing too. Maybe we're very, we're not great at sharing sometimes, and as in, I don't know. I think sometimes we're afraid, we're not as confident about maybe what we do or stuff, and I think that can hold us back. But when you listen to you speak with such passion about shining a light in others, I think that'll definitely inspire people, and me included. And I think that's unreal. I've never heard anybody say that. So amazing. So then you got things going, and then you talked about COVID there. So that was 2018. You decided to do that, and then we had the major worldwide pandemic. How did that actually affect then the growth or the movement?
It was absolutely horrific. To honestly, I've only started to talk about it now where I didn't cry, and I genuinely mean that. I actually feel like I have PTSD from COVID. Like my thing was, we launched in 2018 and we hit the ground running, and it was probably like as much as it was one of the most difficult years, it was one of my fondest years. My thing was like I was the 12th gin to launch in 2018, and I launched on the 3rd of February. So like Ireland was saturated. And we are up in Donegal, and it was just, we have the north, but we didn't have the north, and we didn't have a route to market to the Northern Ireland. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, like we need to go overseas. Like everybody successful goes overseas. So like we packed our bags, we traveled the world. We literally lived out of suitcases. We slept on people's sofas. We like were in like not hostels, but like we were just go, go, go. And we were winning contracts, and it looked great. And then the pandemic hit. And I swear to God, Caroline, I remember May 2020 waking up, and within 3 days, my whole company collapsed. My 9 countries that I managed to secured, every one of them had suspended all their orders. And I remember looking, and I remember like, do you know, where you're like reading a screen, but like, you can't really see anything, and your ears are like, your heart is in your ears. And I remember just like, I remember leaving. My whole thing in my office, like I try to have a really positive outlook all the time in life. But like, and normally even, I remember like even if an employee's in bad form, I'm like, listen, do you want to go work from home today? And they're like, what? I'm like, your energy just is not there. And it only takes one bad weed to like ruin a whole garden. And no one's in trouble. We're all human. But I'm just like, just go home and then come back whenever you're feeling better. I took myself home because I was like, I actually don't even know what I'm going to say to these people. Like, I don't even know. I didn't even know the answer myself. Um, I cried a lot. I won't lie. And then I was just pure into survival mode of like, right, what actually are we going to do in order to keep this going? And like my board was ringing me every Monday, going, right, Laura, what are we doing? What's the plan? How are we going to survive? And I remember just dotting my whiteboard, just dot, 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 and nothing was coming. And like the tears were streaming down my face, was just pure panic. Like at this time, like my family, my friends, we had raised money through Crowdcube. Most of those people from Crowdcube were like for people from my community. Like, I didn't really know them, but I couldn't go down the street without seeing them. I'm like, oh my God, these people have given me their investment. They're giving me like, their savings, thinking this was going to be something great. And then in my head, I was like, is it all going to come crashing down around me, including my bloody house?
The Dig podcast needs your help. Did you know that we have thousands of people download the podcast each week, but still people haven't subscribed or followed on the channel? So I'm asking you, if you listen on Apple or Spotify, if you could hit follow. If you listen on YouTube, then hit that subscribe button. It means that I can reach out to even more guests, bring even more actionable advice that can help you in your business.
And we just adapted really, really quick. We came up with the cocktail boxes, and those cocktail boxes kept me going. And I have to say, if anybody ever bought one of our cocktail boxes during the pandemic, I am unbelievably grateful to every one of you for supporting us during that time, because my company would not be going, and I wouldn't be in Sydney right now without it. So thanks.
Oh my God. So many people, everybody listening, because we're all that listen to Dig podcast are in the world of work and business, cried in May 2020. I was crying.
I know.
I've
It's terrible.
cried for 3 full months. I used to have a shop, Laura, and I had it for 12 years, and I had to close
Oh,
it at
sorry.
COVID, and I cried. And I'm not even saying that to you for you to say that to me, but I mean, when you're saying
No,
that to
but I can
me,
feel it. I honestly I can
I
feel it.
resonate because we were crying, and some people didn't survive it, and some
Yeah.
people did and thrived because they were able to adapt and evolve, and like and when you're thanking again your humility and your humbleness, thanking people for buying a cocktail box, but it is the people that make our businesses survive. It is
Of
the people,
course.
and that's so you're a people person. You're looking after your people and you're thanking your people, but. God, it does get emotional. And do you ever look back and go, Jesus,
I think you make me to cry now. I
well,
get to what?
I'm like, please hold it together, guys. I'll be crying.
Yeah.
This is not about you, but I mean, it does make you think about that time and think, geez, like it was mad. But thankfully, you did, and loads of people did the eat at home, the shop at, or the drinks at home, and all. And it was amazing to see how actually agile a company can be then when you did work
Yeah,
through in a crisis.
yeah. Like
But
I honestly said, it was one of the best times. Honestly, I actually said if my company had gone under that I was going to become like a delivery person because it was the nicest job. I got to drive around. Obviously, we weren't like my biggest thing was like 100 years ago, alcohol was like illegal, and then all of a sudden, I was down as like an essential worker doing deliveries for alcohol. But like every time I was driving to someone's house, they were so happy to see me that like I was like, and then like we were like having a conversation, obviously X amount of meters apart, and we were chatting away, and I used to be like, oh, I absolutely loved it, and it just kept me going. And every morning I was like, I said to the guys, I was like, just pretend it's not happening, just pretend the whole world is completely as normal, and we are just doing our job. And like that was just the only thing that kept us going. I was like, are we so lucky to be alive? Are we so lucky we have this job? And that's like we just yeah, it was like as much as it was horrendous. Do you know what? It was a very humbling experience. And as much as it really, really has damaged me, I'm very grateful for it in many ways.
for sure, and I think a lot of people would feel the same. But so whenever like you get to a certain stage in your business, and you can take the lead after this, where you reach a level where you can't grow anymore because you need perhaps that extra
Funding.
lift. And loads of people are at that stage. I've actually interviewed a few people recently who talk about growing but not scaling, and all of that type of language. I'm like, what does that even mean? And I've started to really understand that. But and you sometimes you stick at a certain level because you some people just never get that opportunity or that investment, but that has not been the case for you. This story is actually insane. Like, I was reading it and I was thinking, I can't believe I'm going to get talking to this girl that actually,
Stop.
like, no, but seriously. And then you told me you're actually like, where are you right now? Where are you
Oh,
living?
well,
Where are you living?
no, I'm living in Russell Crowe's house in Sydney. Yeah.
Leave that sit there. Let that sit there a wee minute.
And I love him, and I'm very grateful in case he does listen to this. And I look after my space.
You think Russell Crowe's going to listen to the Dig podcast? Well,
Here, he's
Russell,
listened. He's listened to my last few, so you never know.
Russell, if you're listening, you are the man. We love you here in Ireland. But no, but like in all seriousness, and I read the news articles about how that happened. But just tell us, for people who don't know that story, how do you, first of all, regardless if it's Russell or Ronan or whoever it is, securing investment is not an easy. People don't know how to navigate that. There, Laura, they don't even know what it
Yeah,
really means. Myself included.
yeah,
Sometimes it's like over my head. It's for rich people or people with really good businesses, or but actually it can happen to anyone. But tell us how
yeah.
that all happened.
Um, so last April, that's how close, like that's how early it was. I actually remember, like, I just couldn't see the light through the tunnel, like, or through the trees. It was just the business was just I was struggling so much, and I remember getting nominated for like Entrepreneur of the Year from PwC. And the email came through, and I burst out crying. I actually like fell to the floor, and I actually had a full on panic attack, which I'd never had before, for 6 hours. Like, my dad had to ring my sister to come down. I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I can't even fail in peace. I was like, I just like the whole thing about having an alcohol company, people will never ever know until you have one, is the amount of money that you have to put in front in order for you to get a final product. Like, say even our glass, for example, we would have to pay 70,000 up front, but we wouldn't get that glass for maybe 9 months. And then we get that glass, then we have to make it, then we have to sell it. And then those people have credit notes for maybe 2 months. So it could be a whole year before we actually get a return on it. Like it's absolutely mind blowing, to be quite honest. Um, and I remember ringing my brothers. And my brothers, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad's an entrepreneur. My mom was a great businesswoman. My two brothers are extremely successful entrepreneurs. My sister, and I'm 18 years younger than them. So like I was kind of like raised with three fathers and two mothers. And I rang them and I was like, I don't know if I have a business anymore. I actually just cannot see this anymore.
Why? What was happening that made you feel like that? Is it because of the outlay
Just,
of cash flow or the cash flow
yeah,
situation? Okay.
mainly with our first order with Australia, which like I had won my contract with Coles in Australia pre-COVID, which was amazing. Like it was kind of unheard of. Like what I managed to do was pretty amazing back then. It was kind of unicorn, but in my
And
head I
and
was like,
and just to jump in, how? Because I'm like, I want to know this before you talk about that. But how did you do that? How did you secure something that's
I just
unheard of?
pitch. I found out one of the girls who was one of the buyers was in Maville, who was in drinking and in Muff or in drinking Muff in Maville. I contacted her on Facebook, sent her a few bottles, and I was like, "Look, is there any chance that you can? I've sent you a million emails." She was like, "I've actually tried your product. I've already sent your product to the team before even meeting you. Come pitch, do your conversation, do you as such." And I got it, and it was one of the best moments of my entire life. If being brutally honest, at that point of our career. And then COVID obviously hit, and in order for me to fill this container of all this liquid that I had already pre-agreed this order, if I had sold it, I would have went bankrupt due to the credit terms and stuff. All my advisors was telling me not to do it. We sat around a round table and everything. Don't do it, Laura. Don't do it. And I was like, no. And I rang John Teeling, who owns Teeling's. He is a great mentor and a great man to me. And he was like, sell a kidney, Laura. You make sure whatever happens, that shipment's on the water. So rang my brothers and I was like, listen, I need to talk to you. I'm in trouble. So they came over, looked at all my accounts, and said, like, to be honest with you, like you're okay. You just need a bit of a cash inflow. You've got a great product. You've got a great business. I just think at that time, like the COVID was 3 years, and it was just you're just living constantly in fear. As much as I keep on saying, like my faith was stronger than my fear, I'm only human, and some days I was like, please, will this just end? It was just so consuming. And then my brother was selling one of his companies. He was like, "Look, I'll give you a cash injection." And then I found out Russell Crowe was filming in Ireland. And to jump back in the 17th of October 2017, when I was actually launching, I got my register of my company through. I wrote on my whiteboard that Ed Sheeran would be a shareholder in my company, and that Russell Crowe would do the first tweet I ever did when I launched into Australia. I
You
have other
wrote that.
things.
You
Yeah,
wrote
I
that.
wrote it. I have it. I still have it. It still has never been. It's never been. My whiteboard never gets erased, so it's
Send me a
always kept up
picture.
there.
Send me a picture. Send me a picture after.
Well,
Um.
I'm in Sydney, but no, I can't because there's too much other things on it. Other
Ah!
things come true, and other things are going to come true. It's just manifesting. To be honest with you, Caroline, I've just always imagined it. So last year, when I found out that Russell was in Ireland, so my best friends, sisters, girlfriends sings in his band. So I just contacted her and I was like, mate, I was like, I just need him to get these bottles. So she sent them down to him. Um, he had them and stuff, and that was like 10:30 Saturday night. And then I got a phone call at 8:05 Monday morning saying, "Are you looking for investment? Russell loves your product, loves your brand. He wants to meet you. Can you come down?" And I was like, yeah. So I went down and had breakfast with him, told him everything. It's best just to be honest. And we had a hug and he was like, "I'm all in." And I was like, great. And that was it. The rest is history.
Like, does this happen to people? Like, I mean, you're some girl. Like you just fire you. Well, I never do affirmations or anything. I never write things down. Maybe I flipping should
You
start.
should.
But I mean, there's something in that there. But also there's something wholesome about the people that you're working with here too. Like, I mean, there's something about Russell Crowe too, like a person. I don't know, like here, I don't know him, but I mean, from what I see of him, from what I see, like that kind of wholesome, supporting the people, wanting people to do
Yeah,
well. You can kind of see that in things that he does, like
yeah.
online and stuff. But getting you were determined to get that to him. Is there a message there to others who are perhaps just need to push outside their comfort zone and get their product or their service in front of the people that they need?
Yeah, like my whole thing is just do it. Like my thing was, I remember sitting with my first bottle ever in my kitchen, crying to my sister, going, "I can't believe I've created this." I was like, "Is this actually real?" And I said to her, I was like, "One day, whatever time it was, somebody in Henrik's created a bottle for the first time and had a bottle. Somebody from Chirac had a bottle for the first time and they created something." I was like, "Why can't my legacy, like, why can't I do it? Like, why not?" And then you hear these stories all the time normally in the United States where like I read them all the time that they've met this random investor and then all of a sudden their life completely changes. And I was like, well, why that cannot not be me? So my whole thing was I just constantly always was like, no, I'm going after it. And like Ed, like I pitched to Ed back in 2018 or 19. So like when Russell actually sent him the bottles, Ed was like, "Oh, I know the product." No, sorry, I found out then that actually Ed was the one who introduced Muff to Russell, where I thought I was the one that actually did it. But they already knew of the product, and they were like, "Look, meet her and see what she's like." And Russell was like, "Yeah, she's pretty mega, so we're all in." Um, so it's been great. Look, I adore them. I'm so unbelievably grateful. They're really, really smart businessmen. They're extremely humble. They're family men. They're extremely kind, and they're smart. Like I don't have a weak link in my circle anywhere. Like I couldn't tell you if you were going to get me what kind of circle I am. Like I've nothing around me now. It's really, really good.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
So
And
if you get an opportunity, just freaking go. The worst they're going to say is no. Who
I
cares?
know. And can I just ask, when you do go, like how prepared are you? I mean, do you have a team of people that can help you with like business pitch or figures, or like surely you can't be
Yeah.
doing all of those things, are you?
Oh, Carly, and the reason I'm laughing is that is normally when I go in to talk to anybody, it starts at the beginning. They want to hear the story.
Yes.
My first question I got from Russell was like, "Right, your finances. Let's go through. Let's go through it." And I was like, I was so taken back. I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's not even going to let me like, even get to let me talk." So I went through that, and like we started at that part and then went back, but like that's never ever happened in any of like the 5 years previously that I was running business. Like you have this like a segment of the history, whatever the brand, the awards, your vision, your future, and that's where yeah, he threw me completely. But like the best thing is just be honest, and a lot of it is like I'm I'm not figure savvy. I don't pretend to be. I don't have to be. I know my weaknesses. I know my strengths. My strengths are great. My weaknesses are terrible. But I hire people to help me with my weaknesses. And I asked my team on a weekly basis about my PNL, and they have the patience every time to go through with me because they know that I don't get it sometimes. And that's okay.
It is. It is. I still struggle in net and gross and
Hi.
knowing the difference. And why do we pay VAT? What the hell is VAT? I still struggle with that, and I try to learn. But sometimes you're right. I need to get the expert, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize that now. We're not accountants. We don't flip and know how to work all this out. So let's get people that can help us. But it's interesting that he said talk about the finances first, because we can all have a vision and a passion and determination, but actually sometimes you need those figures to work for it to become like actually something as
Well,
well.
to be honest with you, like my figures were absolutely appalling. We were massively in debt and we were hemorrhaging money. But like I kind of think that any startup has that.
Mhm.
I think like as much as I was going 2 years and the pandemic hit and we had 3 years of it. So as much as I'm in year five, I in my head I always believe I'm in year three. But at the end of the day, you still have figures for 5 years. So like you just have to be realistic with it. Um we've been dealt the cards we've been dealt with. My whole thing was like, this was the future or the past. I got money to survive. I've got an incredible product. I know exactly what I want to do. I know what I'm going to do. I just need someone to back me. Just, believe in it. And that was it.
You're going to have
And
all these people ringing you after this going, here's some money too, or here's some money too. But like unbelievable. So just before we move on, just to say who, like, are you allowed to say all the different people that actually have invested? I know you have loads and loads, but I mean, is there more people that people might know their names?
This week's podcast is brought to you in partnership with Night Owl Studio. Night Owl are a creative agency based in Cookstown, County Tyrone, and they aim to be a one-stop shop for businesses who are looking for design, photo or video content. Now, I have worked with Night Owl over the past few years on lots of different projects. They've helped me with the big day out and with graphics and branding and design, and also with Dig Deep for Kids and also the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards. So they do a fabulous job. They're working on a few exciting things for me at the minute, which I'll be able to tell you about later. But for now, this week, I want to talk to you about packaging design. This is a really big thing for businesses and something that Night Owl works on with a lot of businesses. Does your packaging stand out from the competition? Like, you can tell so much about a business from their packaging, and it's so important to get that first impression right. And that's what Night Owl are good at doing, bringing your vision to life. Like, if you give them an idea, they can make it real, and with their design elements. And I've seen that with lots of things they've worked on me with, especially the big day out. I've said I want it to be fun. I've told them maybe key colours, and then they've just created these amazing online graphics that I can use to promote my event. And they just make it easy. They take the stress out of it. They make it fun, and they're so efficient. I'm always a last minuter. Not that I promote that, but they're brilliant to work with, and I've had a great relationship with them over the past few years. Whenever they are doing design for packaging, especially, like, they create like realistic 3D renders to allow you to see what your product's going to look like when it's done. And that there's so important, because you don't want to commit to something unless you know it's right. So they can create all those assets that you need to make an informed decision. And the most exciting thing is they're going to give 20% off to the Dig listeners for their first project. If you have something you'd like them to work on, then if you just quote Dig20, they're going to honour that discount to you guys, and yeah, just bring your vision to life. That's what Night Owl Studio are good at. Check out their website to learn more about Night Owl on nightowlni.com, and follow them on Instagram at Night Owl Studio NI _.
No, I just have Russell, Ed, Ronan, Jimmy, and Noel Kelly. So just those five guys are one. My brothers, Mike and Paul, are investors. My family are investors. I've got really good friends who invested. Yeah, no, like, to honestly, there's very little of us. Like, as I said, like Crowdcube was we raised equity through that back in 2019. We sold 4% for 200 grand. And most of those people, like, I would say probably half of them are people from Ireland, mainly from Donegal. So yeah, I know all them too. But yeah, no, that's just us.
That's amazing. And Crowdcube, that's a whole other conversation that we could definitely do another podcast on, for people who, are struggling at the very, very start and need that. Like, I wouldn't claim to
Oh,
know a
Carlin,
lot.
I am not your person to talk about it, because
Okay.
I did not have a good experience with
Oh,
it.
right. Okay. Well, look, it's still part of your journey, and you're able to say that now, that it
And I'm
actually.
very grateful for it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, it is what it is. And like, people ring me all the time about it, and I give them my honest opinion on how
Okay.
it was. But it's a very stressful experience. So
Yeah.
you got to be ready for it. I don't think startups so early on should probably do it. I think we were probably a little bit too soon. I just think everything is a little bit too raw, and everything's a little bit too sensitive. If I was to do it again at this stage, the way I am now, mentally and physically, probably I would probably look at it a bit different. But when there's so many eyes on you, you just feel like you're being attacked, even though you're not. but like, that's just how you feel when you've got a startup business, that and
Mm,
you're just constantly worrying that you're going to lose people's money. Like
mhm.
there's nothing like the worst feeling than that, thinking, oh my God, am I going to lose my nephew's like 21st savings? Like it's
No,
like
that's true. That's
a
extra
horrible
pressure.
feeling.
Yes, that you
Yeah.
already have the pressure of a startup, and then you've got that. So that's definitely something that those people need to consider and speak to people who've been through it. But
However, I know people like have had a great experiences from it,
okay,
and it works well. So like again, I'm extremely grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for those people who invested in me, and they haven't got a return yet, but I promise them they're going to. Just
oh my God.
give me another 2 years.
I would know rightly they're going to by the way that you speak. What before we move on to the next few things, is there any key pieces of advice that your investors have given you that has stuck with you and helped you on your journey now? Has there been one
Oh,
liner?
patience, patience, patience. That's what I get every single time I speak to them. Um, it's constantly what I get anytime they finish the phone call. Is patience, patience, patience. I want
And I
everything
think
done yesterday. So
yeah, and I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of people don't. They think they need it now. They need to, I'm working so hard. I've been working so hard. Why is it not happening? Why is it not coming? So if anyone's listening, maybe take that resounding advice from Russell, Ed, Ronan, Jimmy, and probably your family as well. Like you do have, it
yeah,
doesn't happen. You have been grinding, and it has been. How long is it now? 5 or 6 years.
6 years in February. Yeah.
Yeah, but it can take longer. But like here, you're doing good. But patience is definitely good advice. Laura, the sustainability part of your business and the looking after the environment and all of that, it is a big piece at the minute among lots of businesses. But you're actually taking action and doing something about that. Tell us what Muff Liquor Company are doing for the planet.
Well, I think just a couple of months ago, so we've had a target of planting 10,000 trees globally,
Wow.
from Ireland, Nepal, the Amazon, Australia, when they had their fires and stuff. Listen, I don't pretend that I am a tree hugger. I am. I love it. I try and hug a tree every day. I put my hand on a tree. I tell them what I want. I try and ground myself as much as possible. So if I
Tell
can,
it. You hug.
I do. I honestly. I'm telling you, like, there's nothing more like the energy you have from a tree, from the roots down to the earth, to keep you grounded, is something that once you get into it, like I literally will go over and I will hug a tree, and you'll always see me put my hands on a tree, and I'll say, that's for me. But yeah, I ground myself as much as possible. I honestly, like, I get excited when I see a beautiful tree. Like I'm just like, I'm always so fascinated by them. Like, how many years have you been standing? How many lives have you seen? Like, I find them fascinating. But like, it's a peaceful place. Like, if you're ever looking for me in Sydney, I'm down in the Royal Botanical Gardens, sitting under a tree barefoot, just talking to them. It keeps
Wow.
me grounded, keeps me
And now
keeps me
you're
safe.
now you've planted 10,000 of them that are going to be there for thousands and thousands of years with your
Please
name.
God, yeah. Well, my target's 20,000. I started off. Um, I wanted to plant 100. The whole thing is like, we're making money, but we're not making massive money. But I do believe, no matter how big or small your company is, I think it's really really important to give back. And I think it's really important to give back to the earth that we have. So started off with 100 trees, and then we're up to 10,000. My next target is 20,000, and knowing me, I'll probably aim to do 100,000. But as long as I am selling bottles of Muff Gin and vodka and whiskey, I will be planting trees.
And am I being silly and saying that? Like, how do you actually go about planting 10,000 trees?
I just became a member of Tree Nation, so like
Okay.
you can come a nation and you can plant anything from well, one tree to
Oh,
many trees as you want.
I didn't know that. I didn't know how that would actually work. Okay, so become part of an organization that actually do this to help the
Yeah,
planet and all. That's amazing. And I suppose lots of businesses are trying to think of ways that they can give back and look after our planet and stuff. So there are ways out there, and Laura's making sure that she does it. And then something that I was like, no, she's unreal, is the St. Vincent de Paul bit. So every bottle of Muff Liquor that you sell, you donate
a
some money,
percentage to
a
the bottle.
percentage
Yeah,
to St. Vincent de
yeah,
Paul. And for anybody that doesn't know about St. Vincent de Paul, lots, like I said, the majority of people in Ireland do. So it has people all over the world, families
mm,
all over the world that need help. And these are our people,
yeah.
anyone that needs help. Because Vincent the Paul actually I do work with them as well every year, Laura, and they said to me
Good.
last year, they don't turn anybody away. No one's turned away, no matter who they are or what they are or what they're. You're never turned away, and I think that that's a great message to give out to people, even people who are listening now who perhaps might need help. They never turn you away. So anybody that's helping, that's Vincent the Paul's helping, and perhaps Muff has been part of that, with their contributions, and maybe people who are listening know about Dig Deep for Kids that I do too. So we support them, Vincent the Paul. But how amazing to do that! How important is that? Obviously, it's very important for you to do that.
Yeah, I try and me personally, I love supporting anything, especially at home. But I remember I obviously ring them, I know them, and we were having a conversation, and I didn't even know what it was. I think it was about Christmas, and they were like, "Oh Lord, this isn't for Christmas. Like these people need deodorant. Like they need." And I was remember being so taken back that these teenagers who are 14 don't have deodorant, and I remember just thinking, right, we need to do something. And again, we don't have a lot to give, but we give way too much, to be honest. But I would rather give more. I just feel it's something that we need to do, not even as a business, but for people. And to think this is on our doorstep is so unbelievably shocking. You think Ireland, we're one of the most expensive countries in the world to live in, but we don't have people. The poverty line is absolutely shocking that some people can't, teenager girls can't afford deodorant. It really, really affected me. So I was like, right, we're gonna back this charity as much as we can.
Amazing, amazing, and you never know when people are listening, and it inspires them to do the same, Laura. So I think we should keep talking about supporting our
Well, if
people.
we're talking about it, they do need a lot of help at Christmas time, obviously, with things. So if you ever have any time to donate anything for the next couple of months, I know they would very much appreciate it.
So you're definitely, I just think that's unreal that the tree thing, that's a whole newfound thing for me. I knew about planting the trees. I didn't know that you hug trees and and all of that, but now I'm like, God, maybe I should go and hug a tree and get myself grounded into the
Do you know what? I have a nephew. He's going to be. I reckon he's going to be more successful than any of us, and he's living in Vietnam. And he used to always tease me. He was like, "Oh, she's my favorite tree hugger." And we were in Hong Kong a couple of weeks ago. He flew in to meet me when I was in business, and I saw him over touching a tree. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Just telling them what I want." I was like, "See?" And he's like, "I know what you mean. You can feel the energy." I was like, "It's unbelievably like uplifting." You can't help but feeling you just feel happy afterwards. Go hug a tree, everybody.
Go hug a tree. The message of the podcast.
That is my mission.
Sometimes I'd hug anything if I thought I was going to get released from life, and get some kind of vision. But it's just so funny to hear you say all that. But amazing. So you've won a lot in the last 3 weeks. Specifically, you've won 3 awards. Is it 3 new awards? Tell us what they are.
So our Muff Vodka has won double gold in New York, which was the first time we've ever launched, or we've ever entered a competition in New York. So that was an absolute mega win for us. Our vodka also won gold in the Spirit Business Award. So did our gin, but then our gin also won the Master Medal, which is above gold, which was just, to be honest, they're blind tasting competitions. People don't so the judges don't know our brand, they don't know our story, they don't know who's behind us. It's literally just tasting our liquid. So yeah, it's what I bloody love it. I talk about. I remember getting a silver once, and they rang me like, "Congratulations, you got silver!" And I was like, "What?" It's and they were like, "Do you want us to send you a medal?" I was like, don't bother. I was like, "I will not be posting that." I was like, "No, I'm sorry. If you're not first, you're last, and that is it." So I'm all about the gold. My liquid stands upwards, so I will stand behind it every day.
Good for you. Oh my God, such conviction. And actually, I talked to someone recently, it was Sarah Travers. I don't know if you know Sarah, but she's used to be a BBC News correspondent, and she's now helps women and business owners with their confidence. And she said she often mentors people who say,
Do
excuse
you think I
me,
need some?
absolutely not.
Joking.
I want to bottle yours because, and rightly so, but what you just said there, silver's no good to me. It's gold all the way, and that's my product. I I'm like, we need that. We people who are listening to the podcast need this because, and me too. Like I speak to people and they're like, oh, I just have this wee business and I do this wee thing out my back and it's not really up. You wouldn't really know. And I'm like, no,
Back yourself. Back yourself.
stop.
You have to be your number one fan. My whole thing is no one's coming to save you. You came into this world on your own. You're going in this world on your own. You have every day look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Oh my God, I'm amazing. I have this business. It's bloody great. I'm so proud." Like no one else is going to do it, so do it yourself. Tap yourself on your back. I do it all the time.
We're all tapping away here. I'm like, but it's hard. It is hard. Sometimes life knocks you and you get all these things and you've had them. It's not like you've had flipping plain sailing all along. You've had all the challenges that everybody has, but you're still sitting there with that pure passion and conviction. And I think you need that in business to survive. Otherwise the world walks all over you and life walks all over you and you can't pick yourself back up. So we need to be our own uplifters, if that's the right way to say. We
For
need
sure.
that. We
I mean,
need that.
you gotta be your own support, your own cheerleader. Like my thing is, even when the worst days of my business, and trust me, I've had plenty. I have them now, and I be crying. I'm like, but you love this. This is what you've always wanted. And like my whole thing is like when people say I've had a bad day, you didn't have a bad day. You had 10 minutes of a bad day. Maybe you had a bad half an hour. But like you didn't have a bad day. And like I think a lot of it, like I practice gratitude a lot. I think it's really, really important. And even with that bad experience during that day, like I'm like, thank you for that experience. I learned from it. Like, and you take it from it. But it's all in your mindset and how you decide every day how you're going to do it and how you decide if you've got a problem or a solution. Like I don't have problems. My team never they don't even they're not allowed the word worry has been barred from my office for years. I never want to hear it. It is just I don't want to hear it coming at me. If you've got a problem, but they're like, but I've got a solution. I'm like, fantastic. That's all it is. Like no matter what you've got, you can figure it out. It's just about taking a step back. Take a day if you need it. Talk to your team, sort it out, and just keep fit. Like to keep the focus. Like have your whiteboard where you just have like so many steps, and even when you have those bad days, just focus on the next step ahead of you, and it will happen.
No, I think that you can just sometimes people just get so far and then they give up, but this will give us the drive. We aren't giving up. I'm going to buy a whiteboard. Like I'm sitting looking at a big blank wall here and I'm like, why have I not got a flipping
Get a
whiteboard up there?
whiteboard.
Um,
Get a whiteboard, and the first thing you should be like is like, I am blessed, I am grateful. Like I say that probably 10,000 times a day. And then you just write it down. And your whiteboard doesn't have to be like a whole essay of like your life plans. You can literally have them do X amount of points. And when you do one of them, put a line through it and then focus on another one. Like you don't have to like we're not gonna conquer the world overnight. We
no.
all have to be realistic, but you can do it when you just set a little bit of goals. And like again, if you don't do your goals in 6 months, don't give up on it. Like it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Like I just believe in the time, like the divine timing for everything. I have it
Mm.
across my arm. It's called For the Better. It's my
So you
tattoo.
do. For people who are listening on audio and can't see you on social, what does it say? For the
For
better.
the better. For the better. You're like your relationship ends, it's for the better. Your deal doesn't happen, it's for the better. You miss your plane, it's for the better. Like I'm like when something happens or bad happens, I'm like, thank God, something amazing, something better is about to happen. I have it on my wrist as a reminder to myself every single day that it's for the better.
How'd you get to be like this? No,
Did a
but
lot of bloody work
honestly,
for
like,
myself.
is that a lot of self work? It's not easy to be like that. Like, is that something you have to work on every day?
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily have to do it every day now. To honestly, it's kind of like drilled in me. But no, like when I started the business, I've always been quite a positive person, but when I started the business, like when I say like I went downhill pretty quick, it was just so consuming that I actually was like I actually felt quite suicidal. I remember just thinking like I just cannot do it. And I was blessed of meeting Jerry Hussey, and if anybody hasn't heard of him, he is an amazing life coach. And I met his amazing wife Miriam. And the first day I met him, he said to me, he was like, "Tell me three horrific things that happened in your life." And I told him, and his response was, "Get over it." I was raging. I remember going, "How dare you?" And he was like, "It's in your past. You have a choice now to be a victim or a survivor." Like, it's up to you. You can literally rewrite this and relive this, and like it's in your head every time. Or you can decide that was an experience. It was a bad experience, but we're going to move forward with it. And I remember like going away with it, sitting with it, and then he gave me two homework, whatever you want to call it. Louise Hay, don't know if he's here, but made me listen to 101 positive thoughts and morning and evening affirmations for 90 days. Now, if anybody's ever listened to Louise Hay, she's this like, old American accent. And I remember getting to day 5 going, I cannot do this. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it. But again, I was so bloody determined to get myself out of this rut, to make myself to be the higher vision of myself that I wanted to be. So I was like, I'm so bloody determined to do it. And whatever happened, it just clicked. And then every day I wake up and I open my eyes, put my hand on my heart. I thank God that I'm alive. I'm grateful for my lungs. I put my feet in the air. Like, oh, I'm grateful I can walk to the toilet. I'm grateful I've got running water. I'm grateful I can brush my teeth. I'm grateful for my Barry's tea. And I'm like, I'm grateful every day that I'm bloody alive and I've got this job. And I go in, I'm like, I'm grateful to be dealing with all these people. And I'm bed at night. I go down and like Carlin, you'll be on my list tonight. I'm like so grateful that Carlin took her time to speak to me today. And I'll go through every single person that I spoke to today, bad or good, but for their time and for their experience. And I do that every day.
I need like, so I'm not saying I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person.
For sure.
I am grateful for my life, but I don't practice. And I'm grateful for my health and my family, but I don't say that and I don't practice that. And I feel like I'm a bit broken, as in I'm frazzled. I feel like I can't cope sometimes. I feel like all the things that a lot of people listening will be the same, but perhaps we need to look after ourselves and our mind before we can be the best version of ourselves too.
Of
And like
course.
I'm not really into all of that stuff you're talking about, but when because I've never really been in those circles, but when you're saying it, I'm like, God, we do need to be doing this, because then it makes you realize that nothing's bad and actually we're learning so much and we should be grateful of it. Like, such an
Yeah.
insightful thing for you to share with us. And I think that a lot of people are going to be like, you know what? There's work to be done with us before our business can actually be the
Well,
best
like,
it can be.
I think a lot of it is like you do like try and do 24 hours without moaning, which is so bloody difficult. Like, I mean, and I feel for us Irish women, like we sometimes just we love to moan about something, but you honestly try it, and if you fail, you have to go back to another day. But if you actually get into the mindset where I talk about when there's like all of a sudden you're late for work and then there's these like the traffic lights are up because like a pipe is burst. Instead of giving out to them, you're like, thank you for them. Thank you so much for making our roads better, for making it safety. Thank you so much for I'm not meant to be where I'm meant to be. Like the whole thing is like I'm just like I'm meant to be here. I'm not meant to be there. And like, if you literally just take a step back and just be unbelievably grateful, even when someone sends you a crap email, just be like, sometimes I ring people up and go, are you okay? Because your attitude absolutely stank there. And that's obviously not towards me. You're obviously something going on with you. And probably 9 out of 10, those people are going to say, do you know what? Something has happened in my personal life. And I'm like, that's okay. But don't take that out on me in an email.
Would you actually do that?
100%.
Wow.
The first thing, it's not passive aggressive in any way. It's just being, we are just humans, Caroline. We just have jobs. We have lives.
I know.
We have families, we have traumas, we have death, we have you like whatever like we as a day to day, but like like most of the people only see us as business owners, but like we do have we're people at the end of the day. We wake up, we all do the same stuff. Where I just have to I remind my team all the time, guys, it's just a job. And like it's not a case that I'm not saying that as like I'm gonna get rid of you. But like your mental health comes first, your family comes first. Like whatever it is always a priority because you've got to look after yourself and them in order for them to give you the best of them. Otherwise, like people are just giving you half tanks. Don't bother, just don't come in. That's
Oh
my
my
like that's
God.
my attitude.
Unreal, unreal. Like at many times we got the email and crumbled inside and perhaps didn't have the awareness to know that actually there was something, as you say, shit going on in their lives that made them react like that. And it's no reflection on you. But
course it's not.
it's about awareness from our side about how we are consuming things as well, I suppose.
And sure, and a lot of it's stuff too is like it's a trigger in yourself. Like a lot of like I remember my old company being CC'd onto an email which was freaking brutal for me, but said like CC'd on my directors. And like I wasn't even listening to the complaint because I was so taken back that all my senior team were on it. So then like that triggered me like in a rage where I wasn't even dealing with the problem. I just instantly hated that person for embarrassing me. Where like technically like that person like had a problem and needed it to be fixed. Where like a lot of the time is just take a deep breath, take a step back and take a deep breath. And then like sometimes I don't reply to emails for a day or two if they're too much because I'm just like, I am not going to react to this now because I'm not in the headspace. I'll deal with it in the morning. And probably like 10 out of 10 times, I will never have the same response as I would have had if I replied back instantly out of rage.
So true. Time's a great healer for things like that. And if you take the 24 hours, your perspective on it is
Of
totally different.
course. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was trying to get you on the podcast, right? So sent you a LinkedIn, sent
Did
you
you?
all the
I'm so sorry.
it's
My
okay.
LinkedIn is
Look,
absolutely insane. I'm
absolutely
so
not saying
sorry.
this for an apology. It's a lesson for people who are listening because you may have reached Russell with your determination. I have reached Laura with mine because I was like,
Stop.
then I know a girl from Castlin that owns Castlin Apartments in a showing in Greencastle, and I was
Julie,
like,
is it?
Julie, yes, and I was like,
Oh, she's so
here.
lovely.
Do you ever, was you that girl Laura there that owns Muff Liquor company? Do you think would she ever be in the? There's no way she'd ever be in the podcast, like, because she mixing with the big lads now, like Russell and
Oh,
Melinda.
stop.
She would. She's dead on. I'll send her a message. So I had Julie. I don't know if you ever seen it. She sent you a message on Instagram.
But I replied to you before I opened her message.
The universe was aligning. There you
I
go. So
know,
you felt the
totally.
energy. But anyway, I like sometimes you have these, and I've said this a lot in the podcast, like, oh, they'll never say yes. But I'm a wee bit like you, maybe not as brave, but I do keep going and going, and you never know when somebody will say yes. So
The
here
worst
we
they're going to
are.
say is no.
And if they said no, then it's for a reason, right? That's
For the
why.
better. For the better.
I know. Actually, again, Laura lifted her wrist up and she's got a tattoo on her flipping wrist for the better. You're going to get a trend going here, all the women, business women and businessmen in Ireland. But Laura, look, thank you. So, like, what a story. What I know there's hard times. I know there's challenges, just like every business. But what a story. Your family must be so proud of you. And I know,
Oh,
like
they're
that.
amazing.
Like, I mean, most of us couldn't do this without our families. And I couldn't do my job
Yeah,
without
yeah, of
Jared and my mummy and Jared's mummy and all. But like,
course.
I just want to say, like, we're watching on with pride at your growth
Thank you.
and your successes. And the next time any of us are in any bar in Ireland or wherever, we'll be asking, do you stock Muff liquor? And if not, why not? And we will
You're
get,
right. Thank
if
you.
not, why
I,
not?
Carly,
Skip.
more importantly, my distillery tour place is going to be open next summer. So everybody have to come and see me in Muff next year.
Absolutely. Muff is on the way. I'm always going to stay in Castlin, so I will definitely come and visit you and bring the family as well. And
Pleasure.
we actually went to Doe Famine Village during the summer, and they gave
Yeah,
us
yeah.
all a shot of potching. Nearly killed my mother. My father was loving life. My wee younger nephews were looking at us like, "Can we have a drink too?" So that is definitely the theme up around Donegal, to try things you've never tried before.
Why not?
But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to coming to see you. I hope we get to meet in person someday. But for now,
Well, I'm from Greencastle, so
oh, you
I can see
are.
I can see the castle in from my house. So absolutely.
There you go. Well, look, and look, have an amazing time. How long are you out there now in Australia for? How much longer?
Um, until next year anyway.
Okay.
I'm just waiting. I don't know how I'm going to project manage this development or the distillery being here, but we're doing a massive thing in Asia at the moment that I just wish there was three of me. I wish there was one of me in Asia, one of me in Ireland, one of me in the States, but there's only one. So patience, patience, patience. But look, I'll be home next year. The distillery is going to be open and it's going to be absolutely beautiful. I'm so unbelievably excited for it. And
Like going back to your roots, like that's where it all began. That's where we need that bit of you there.
well, like my whole thing was I didn't want to open the distillery before I knew that I had a product because like it's so expensive. And like it's been such a passion for so long that I've been dying to have it. So the fact now that we're making it happen, like I'm extremely proud and I just can't wait to see it open.
Oh my God, we'll all be there for sure. thank you for being on the Dig podcast,
Thank
and
you.
maybe you'll come back on the next series and tell us what's happening in Asia and America. And
Of course, no bother. Here, thank you so much for your time, and it was lovely speaking to you.
thank you so much, Laura.
God bless. Thank you.